Waiting for Godot, amazingly well-loved play. I've heard it said that there is a homoerotic subtext in the play in regards to the relationship between the two main characters.
I wouldn't get too excited about that, no.
What do you make of that?
I mean, the two actors are gay, so maybe people assume that that's the reason we're doing it, but no. It's more Dee Dee, that's the part Roger Rees plays, and Gogo, that's my part, seem, in our version of the play, to have shared a professional past. They talk about the old days a lot. And they talk about them often, as often as not, as if they were some sort of double act. They seem familiar with the idea of theatre. And that's why our set is, as you can see, a ruined theatre. Some dreadful Holocaust has happened. And if you look back at the old couples, Laurel and Hardy or so, or Morecambe and Wise, they're clearly straight, but they're buddies. They often share beds. You often see them making breakfast together. What's going on? Well, it depends on the view of the audience, perhaps, but I don't think Laurel and Hardy would have thought of themselves as wanting to encourage any homoeroticism. And I think it's the same with these two characters, really. They're very close. They do love each other. They depend on each other. They don't live together. They meet each evening, like performers do, to do their business, and then they separate, and they seem to sleep separately. So I think to imagine that Beckett was writing, in any sense, a gay play is not not the case. But, you know, male friendship is, can be found in the list of places, and it's certainly found in this play.
Fantastic. And your two main loves, and your two main areas of expertise, I've heard, are acting and activism. How do the two of those tie together in some ways?
Well, for years, of course, they didn't, because I wasn't involved in activism. Until I was 49, over 20 years ago now, the main focus of my life was, my private life was my career. But then when I came out, my life did change entirely for the better, but I think some people assume that from now I declared myself to be gay, that I would become a queer artist, that all my work would be exclusively, would be exclusively from a gay point of view, but that would cut me off from playing all sorts of straight parts, and I find heterosexuality a very interesting phenomenon, isn't it? And I would be a fool. I wouldn't be able to have played King Lear or Macbeth or Richard III. I'm gay about those characters. But I'd spend a lot of my time thinking and worrying about gay issues, politically and so on, and get involved in, I've been in the UK trying to change laws and to introduce good ones to replace the old ones. And it's still the same person who's acting, and I have played in plays that have had deep relevance to gay people, like Bent. I was the first cast of about gays in the Third Reich in Germany in the 30s, and Gods and Monsters is an important film for gay people because it was the first film out of Hollywood, I think, that treating a gay character, James Whale, the English film director who lived in Hollywood in the 30s and was out, which was extraordinary in those days, just as if he was a person, and his that he was gay was important, but there was no attitude taken by the script or the actors, which in the past there would have been. But as well as all that, I've carried on doing plays and films in which homosexuality doesn't seem to be relevant at all. I can't see where it would apply to Gandalf. He does seem to have exclusively male friends, but and there's no mention of a Mrs. Gandalf.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. In the last few weeks, there's been some controversy over a gay columnist in Newsweek suggested that gay actors aren't quite believable when they play heterosexual lead roles. Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, I hope he's not referring to any performances that I've given that.
Yeah.
The response to it has been strong and condemnatory, and even his supporters say that he's got it wrong and is talking more about his own attitudes to performers than anything else. When I see a straight actor play gay, whether it's Tom Hanks or Jake Gyllenhaal, I just judge the performance. And equally, when I see a straight actor, like the entire cast of this play, I just judge their performances. And I think that's true of audiences as a whole. It's only when the actor is some sort of sex symbol that Tom Cruise, etc., that people get very exercised about the private lives, their private lives. But you know, it's all acting. It doesn't seem to me to matter. And you don't have to be straight to imagine what it's like to be in love with a woman. And if you did, would that mean that I couldn't play Macbeth because I've never murdered him? It's all acting. It seems to me a nonsense. It's a cover-up for an explanation for some sort of homophobia. And I'm afraid the gay journalist who wrote that nonsense, the gay man can't play straight, has got problems of his own, which he's visiting on the actors that he's seen. That would be my view.
Sorry, we need to wrap up now. The last question.
Sure. Last question.
Very sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay. What about, there's a part on your website talking about acting and activism. There's a part called Acting is Activism, and it lists scripts and performances that have maybe an activist message, and the X-Men that.
Yes.
So what is the
when Brian Singer asked me to do that, he, thinking that I might sort of be interested in doing anything as populist as a film of a long-running comic, he said, well, of course, the discussion in X-Men, which is about what do mutants do, what does this minority in society do to reconcile the rest of society to their predicament. Do they integrate, which is the view of Professor X, or do they go out into the streets and stand up for themselves and fight in the way that Magneto suggests? That is a familiar argument in any civil rights movement. And Marvel Comics tell me that the demographic for the comics, and I expect for the films, is that it appeals, the stories appeal most to young Jews, young blacks, and young gays, because they're all, society treats those groups with some disaffection, and therefore the kids relate to the mutants as being an extension of their own situation. So, there we are. That would be the activist connection there.
Brilliant. Thank you.